most exciting news. If some of the allegations being made by BudgIT is anything to go by, the senseless insertions being described. BudgIT, a civic tech organization promoting budget transparency and accountability in Nigeria and other African countries, have come out with a report on the 2025 budget after scrutinizing it, and they said they've uncovered about 11,122 projects worth 6.933 trillion naira that were inserted by the National Assembly into the 2025 national budget. The figure, according to the 18-page report released by the organization yesterday, represent about 12.5% of the 54.99 trillion naira budget signed into law by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. A few of those issues that bothers the mind is the allocation of empowerment to traditional rulers, projects that have been pushed into the Ministry of Agri that don't have a place in that ministry or relevance to that ministry, and many more. I'm being joined by a co-founder and the country director of BudgIT, Mr. Gabriel Okeowo, who is live for us in our Lagos studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Okeowo, for joining us tonight. This is not the first time we are hearing about this insertion. It happens almost, we hear about it almost every budget. And the very popular budget padding seems to have found its way again. National Assembly lawmakers will tell you that there is nothing like budget padding. In fact, we understand that there is an understanding between the executive and the National Assembly of the project that should go to different lawmakers, each and every one of them. But what have you discovered? Is there any discrepancy that you have discovered in this 2025 budget?
Thank you very much, Shil, and my pleasure to be on the program this evening. And I mean, it is expected. And this is not new. I'm sure it is not new to those in government because this is our work, is a mandate for us as an organization. One of the mandates is to analyze the budget of government, both at the federal, state level, and very soon we begin to beam our searchlight into local government as they become empowered and they become autonomous, as it has been, proposed, or the judgment that was last year delivered by the Supreme Court. And so in the past years, I mean, over 10 years now, every year we have always analyzed the budget of the federal government in this case. And every year, I mean, when we talk about analysis, it is that you are looking at the quality of what has gone or what is in this document, because by its definition, a budget should be a statement of planning. It should be a planning document, right? And by design, the executive is meant to prepare the budget, and that budget as an appropriation bill will be, presented to the National Assembly, and then constitutionally, the National Assembly has the right to then revise the budget because the National Assembly are the representative of the people, right? So when the National Assembly sits on this budget, it is expected that every one of us Nigerians, because it is our representatives, right, that are in the National Assembly, that are looking at this budget, ensuring that this budget serve the people. This budget is the budget of the people and not the budget of the few elites or the few that are in government, right? But over the years, what we have always seen is a huge discrepancies between what goes to National Assembly as an appropriation bill and what comes out of National Assembly as a version that is passed by the House for the President to assent to. And this is not the first time that we are going to be identifying frivolous items, that we are going to be identifying, it is okay by virtue of the constitutional power that the National Assembly has, which we think that if we are going to move forward in Nigeria, that's part of our constitution needs to be looked into. But by virtue of that power, for them to look at the budget, review the budget, it means that they have the right to add to it or take from it or, adjust it. However, our concern is how much should this review be? in a situation where we have new insertions that is amounting to over 11,000. And I mean, this year's own is alarming because we have moved from, in 2021, we had, identified about 5,000 plus insertions in the budget. In 2022, it was 6,000. In 2024, it was 7,000. And then in 2025, we are talking about 11,000 new insertions. Then we want to ask ourselves, what did the executive, presented in the first place? If the legislatures that are not, they are not expected to have the technical expertise to come up with budgets, right? And now making new insertions of over 11,000 lines, into the budget. That really is alarming. It is the highest in the recent time that calls for attention. And we're really hoping that...
Let's break it down, Mr. Okewo. Just for a moment. Let's break it down. And I'd like our viewers to know, and I've been part of conversations like this for several years. And I've had conversation about those who think that untoward activities and spendings have gone into the budget. And the argument will be constituency project. This is where these issues are. This is what you have identified. It is established that constituency project is not a crime, is it? It's established. Right.
We can accept it because they are representing a constituency, and it is okay for them to have provisions to provide targeted intervention in the constituency that they are representing. Fine.
Now, the fact is that each lawmaker is allowed to bring a project to his own area for the development and the joy of his own people as a contribution to his own constituency. That is the intention and the sensibility of a constituency project. However, what worries you as an organization in that report is the manner in which some of these projects have gone. In 2024, 2023 budget, for example, Oji River has become a very popular ground for example, when you put street lights into a ministry of agriculture, if you put classroom building into ministry of agriculture, that is what worries you. For example, part of what you have identified in your report is the fact that you have identified glaring anomalies in the budget to include 1,477 streetlight projects worth 393 billion, 538 boreholes totaling 114 billion, 2,122 ICT projects valued at 505 billion. However, there is also 6.7 billion naira earmarked for empowerment of traditional rulers. And it does look like senselessly or unreasonably, some of these projects are being put in places that do not belong. Is that what you portrayed in your report? I read it, and I thought that is what you represented, that some of these are discrepancy. They're not supposed to belong in those areas, and they are being used to funnel funds out of the budget. Is that what you represented?
Sure, yes. But before I come to that, I don't want us to lose the technicality of it. I mean, we all plan to carry out an intervention or project. A good planning will tell us that, there should not be too much variance from your estimates, right? So if you have planned to spend 100,000 or you have planned to execute 20,000 projects, at the end of the day, if there is going to be variance, there should be maybe some room for a bit less than that or a bit more than that. But we are saying first 11,000 new line. If it's not communicating anything, maybe the National Assembly is communicating to the executive that they have not done justice to the document they presented to them, and they are in better position to plan for them. Because it is still the executive that will implement this budget, right? Now, if the legislators are the ones that are giving you 11,000 new new items. The first question there, before we go to the quality of the insertion, the first question there is, what tie, does this 11,000 new projects as to the original plan that the executive presented? And why is it that if the executive presented this number of, or presented this version of budget, it came back with 11,000 new insertion, and there is no pushback? There is no conversation to come to the table to understand why this new insertion. Now let's go to the quality, which you mentioned, and it is, of course, that is in fact the major concern. Because when we look at all of this item, it would then look somehow for me to sit here and be arguing that a street light should not be done, or a borehole should not be done, or a vehicle for traditional leaders should not be bought. No, we are not saying that. We are then saying, what is it? How is it placed in a situation where, let me give you an example. Part of this 11,000, there is a 700 million, right, that is budgeted to the Center for Agricultural Mechanization in Ilorin to provide an ICT and CBT center. What happens to the Ministry of Education? What happens to the agency, or the agents? What happens to JAM to carrying out this kind of intervention? Right? And then over the years, when you look at this 11,000 new insertion, 4,000 plus of this 11,000 is to one ministry alone, Federal Ministry of Agriculture. What is happening in that ministry? Why is it easy, right, for us to always dump new insertions in that ministry, and yet we have not been able to establish that all the dumping and all the intervention in that ministry is meaningfully contributing to the revenue generation capacity of Nigerians, or is improving our agricultural output, or is improving the farmers, the life and the livelihood, or the economic well-being of the farmers. Right? And this is our concern. And you have mentioned there are some notorious agencies that we know. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture, the Federal Cooperative, is it College or G River? Quite a number of them. You will see an agency of government that is in charge of maybe dentistry or research, building classrooms, far away from a region where they do not have presence. What is the quality of the supervision and oversight they are going to do on that project if they have the capacity to carry out? And in the first place, what capacity do they have to carry it out? Right? A Center for Agricultural Mechanization that wants to construct an ICT and CBT center. By my understanding, ICT and CBT center in the Nigeria that we live today are centers that we cannot have enough of them to be able to cater for the number of persons that write exams, that that needs to gain the ICT skills here and there. But yet, when you now see this kind of line being assigned or being given to agencies that have no mandate to carry out such, it then calls for questioning. And we are saying, if this government that came into power...
Mr. Okewo, for us to make sense of this and perhaps wrap up this conversation, is that it does look to me like deja vu. But because this has happened over and over and over and over again, it does look like our budget has become a street of a crime scene. And every time we see this happening, and it goes on, and nobody is being held accountable when we see this frivolous, this unjustifiable, this senseless way in representation of the monies that belong to the Nigerian people, and lawmakers or whoever, that those who are involved, those go on as though the Nigerian people are dumb and don't know what they are doing. You are asking a big question here at BudgIT, that the Attorney General of the Federation needs to come to it. What about the role of the Nigerian people? Where do we go from here? It does look like a crime scene, doesn't it?
Sean, what I'm expecting, the kind of reaction I'm expecting from the government, either from the executive or the National Assembly, is to say, yes, we made this provision because we make it in the interest of our people, and let the government, right, create a system that allows everyday Nigerian to monitor this project, track this project, and provide feedback. We have been, this is what we do. But over time, thanks to the intervention of the ICPCs and the EFCC, they are intervention has helped in the recent years in reducing the rate of abandoned projects or fraudulent projects that are fraudulently delivered, but there is still a lot to be done. If this government is going to make anything good of this budget, let this government come out, let this government pledge its commitment to ensuring that monetary and evaluation system will work in this country, and where we see that items that have been budgeted and allocation has been made for, has been backed up by disbursement, is not properly delivered, let us see that somebody is brought to justice, right? Let Nigerian money, let Nigerian resources work for the Nigerian people. This is the call from the Nigerian citizens this evening.
All right. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? The Federal Technical College, Oji River, is now very notorious as a site for these frivolous and unjustifiable projects. And that place, those places need to protest those kind of things, because they are now being notorious and being popular for that. What is the role of federal government budget in empowering, spending 6 billion or more in empowering traditional rulers? Is that not in the purview of state government and local government?
And local governments.
Exactly. Why do you make this country a joke? I mean, very interesting. You need to go and read that report. I'll see whether or not that report, we can make it available on Channels Television website so that everyone can see. And we need to have a response from the government to say what is going on. Is that right or wrong? Let's have an explanation on that. But thank you so much, Gabriel Okeowo, for your time tonight. Gabriel Okeowo is the country director of BudgIT. Thanks so much.